Good Saturday afternoon to everybody. I know this is a surprise to all of you that I'm doing anything Falcon related less than an hour before a UGA ball game, but we had to bring this show. I got my boy Armand. Y'all probably seen him on here for a couple of draft shows to cover his favorite team with me, the Cleveland Browns. What's going on, Armand?
Hey, man. What's going on, Nate, man? Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here to speak on the Browns.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As you all know, the Falcons play the Browns tomorrow. The Browns are a 1-point favorite according to Vegas right now. The game is at 1 o'clock tomorrow on CBS. And before we get into the game, I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know what to expect tomorrow. I had this as an L before the season, but so much has changed this week to make that game potentially a close game before we really get into it. Armand, how are you feeling about this game?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm a little nervous about, obviously Miles not playing is a big deal, and we can get into that a little later. But our D-line is pretty beat up right now, but we got one of the best rushers in the league, so we'll see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's honestly how I feel about the game. To me, even when I saw that Myles Garrett was going to be out for this game, the first thing I was like, okay, we may have a chance to run the ball a little bit better. But for me, the concern is on the other side of the field because Cleveland has one of the best offenses in the league. I don't think if anyone that's tuned in, Cleveland and Atlanta are the only two teams in football this season that have scored 26 points or more every single game. So I expect this to be high scoring because I hate our defense. And again, Nick Chubb is on that side of the field, my former dog. And I just don't see how we're going to stop him because if we let Geno, Kenneth Walker, Rashad Penny, and that group rough over 100 yards combined last week, then I'm not feeling this game either. but yeah, let me hit this comment real quick. Smoking session. What's going on, Tay? What's going on? Everyone that's tuned in, make sure y'all follow my boy's account. He puts some great content out, great grilling content. You will not be disappointed with his show. But just stepping into the game, what are some of the keys that you have for the Browns to win this game in Atlanta?
Key number one, run the ball. Give it to Chubb, give it to Hunt. Nick Chubb leads the league in rushing with 341 yards, tied for first in the NFL with 4 touchdowns, and ranks third in the league at 5.5 yards per carry with a minimum of 40 attempts behind Saquon Barkley as well as Cordarrelle Patterson of the Falcons. So we definitely have to run the ball, control the line of scrimmage just to start. Secondly, we got to get some type of pass rush on Marcus Mariota. Obviously, with the news that Myles Garrett will not play tomorrow, Jadeveon Clowney is also questionable. We're going to have some younger backups in the game. Rookie Alex Wright, a promising third-round pick, will get the start tomorrow with Chase Winovich, former Patriot. Also, Taven Bryan is out, defensive tackle. So we're going to have to get some pass rush. And third, really just going to have to make sure we don't give up the big plays. In the first 2 games, we gave up some big plays when we were up in the games that got a little more competitive. So just making sure that we don't give up that big play. Obviously, we're going against, rookie wide receiver Drake London, as well as second-year player Kyle Pitts, who are very tall receivers that can really impact the game. How about you, Nate? What's the keys to the game for the Falcons?
Okay, for me, number one, you just hit on. Let me hit this comment quick before I say mine. KD, what's going on, bro? Appreciate you checking in. Some of our HES fam tuning in. He said he expected a big game from Hunt this week. Okay. JD, what's going on, bro? He checking in as well. For me, the number one thing is containing Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt because the Falcons are a terrible team against the run. They are 16th in the league against the run. They give up over 100 yards per game rushing. And Nick Chubb and that great offensive line, I am nervous about what this defense is going to do against that offensive line in Cleveland because we already don't get enough pressure as is, and going up against Nick Chubb is not a good matchup for the Falcons at all. So I'm a little concerned about what this defensive line is going to do against that group. Another thing is going to be to limit turnovers. The Falcons have turned the ball over at least 2 times in every game that we played this season. Either we've had 4 fumbles, which is the third worst in the league, 7 total in football, 7 giveaways this year. And Cleveland hasn't turned the ball over but once all season long. So limiting the turnovers is going to be key in this game, because you have those 2 turnovers in this ball game, you're probably losing by 15 or more. And you can't have that happen in this game if you're the Falcons. Another thing is they got to find balance on the ground, as Armand mentioned earlier. It's a potential opportunity that both Clowney and Myles Garrett is going to both possibly be out this game. And this is an opportunity for the Falcons to really get it going in the air, possibly, because with Cordero Patterson kind of banged up, I don't know what to expect out of him tomorrow. This could be an opportunity for Tyler Algier, the rookie from BYU, to step up for the rushing attack. But again, as Armand mentioned, this is going to be key for Drake London and also Kyle Pitts to get involved in this ball game. So it's going to be a challenge for Marcus Mariota. But one thing that I also have to throw that you guys did in the Pittsburgh game, once Cleveland went a lot of man defense last week, it was really, really tough for Pittsburgh to move the ball on Thursday Night Football, and I'm a little concerned about that. And another thing, forcing field goals. You cannot get in a shootout with this Cleveland Brown offense. Amari Cooper, the best thing he did was got out of Dallas, because he has been on the tear since he went to the Cleveland Browns, and Jacoby Brissett has been absolutely solid the entire season while Deshaun Watson is still out right now. And the Falcons have to force some type of field goals in this ball game, because if you're trying to match from touchdown to touchdown, I don't see us doing it. So those are some of my keys as far as winning this ball game. It's going to be a shootout. I agree with you on that. But let me ask you this. As far as the Cleveland defense, who do you want to see the most out of this game coming up?
It's a great question. I know we were talking a little earlier prior to hopping on, but Jacob Phillips, linebacker, he's going to be replacing Anthony Walker as the green dot on defense. So the green dot is the person who's going to have responsibility for, communicating and calling plays, seeing coverages, seeing what's going on at the line. So he's going to have really pay attention to what Marcus Mariota is doing. I think a key player that's potentially he'll be able to play if, who got injured last week is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Great, young linebacker. If he can, be able to play, I think he's dealing with a groin injury. I think he'll definitely make a difference. So I think the key to this game is going to be our linebackers, not only in coverage of Pitts and London, but also being able to stop the run.
Okay. And I may answer that same question with you against, and it's funny because Tate just hit this note. He just mentioned who I was just about to say, the Amari Cooper, AJ Terrell matchup. And that is going to be a key matchup in this game, because for me, on the Falcons defense, they got to get some pressure, because one thing that scares me with the 3-4, whatever scheme Dean Pease is calling out there, I don't know what he's calling half the time, is the tight ends are going to be potentially effective. So David Njoku could be a sleeper to go off against this Falcon defense tomorrow, because, again, we kind of struggled against Kobe Parkinson last week in Seattle. The Titans kind of got going in the Rams game, actually. So that's going to be a very nerve-wracking matchup. I'm worried about whoever Casey Hayward is matching with. Please do not have Casey Hayward and a Amari Cooper matchup at any point in this game. He's going to toast them. If you've been watching the Falcons, you know he's been the person that you pick on all the way through. Let me hit these comments real quick. Buddy, what's going on, bro? What's going on? Jay said, I think CP 200. I don't see 200 yards from Cordero Patterson. I love the enthusiasm, but I don't see it. I do not see it.
We still are a top 10 run defense.
Right. They're y'all number 7 against the run.
Yeah. But our DNs, they're a big part of that. So Patterson could have a good game if he actually does play.
He just said, all jokes aside, Cleveland are really good at stopping the run with the best front 7. This might be the first time we see Marcus. That is a very good point and a nerve-wracking point as well, because Marcus Mariota is not the best passer. So I'm a little nervous about this matchup, even with you guys potentially having both defensive linemen. How do you feel about that comment?
I think based on what we've seen the past three weeks to start the season, I believe that if our defense cannot, get comfortable in a lot of big plays, what similar happened to Joe Flacco in the last 1 minute and 55 seconds of the Jets game and losing, we can do well. But I definitely think that Mariota has some opportunities to make some plays with our bend or don't break defense. To just get that big play. Like I said, I'm really concerned about Drake London and Kyle Pitts just because of their size. We have some physical corners, and Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, rookie Martin Emerson has done a very good job coming in, and we hope. I'm not sure if Greedy Williams is going to be able to play. But Mariota is probably going to make some plays this week, but we just have to limit those big plays.
Okay, yeah, and that's my concern, because to me, what I have an issue with the Falcons' offensive scheme is, as he mentioned, that there's could be an opportunity for us to throw the ball in this game. But to me, this season, the reason why we've been able to be so successful is because we've been able to run the ball. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see Marcus Mariota throwing the ball all around the field all game long, even with those injuries up front, because don't get me wrong, I know everyone's been talking about the Falcons' offensive line has been better this year, which it has because of a mobile quarterback. But at the same time, some of my biggest concerns for the Falcons is going to be, can he make the 3rd down and 10 throw, 3rd down and 8 throw if the rushing attack is not working? Because this could be the first time all season that we really may not be able to run the ball. The Rams game was another test. But the problem is going to be, can Arthur Smith scheme up enough to not put this team under pressure to have to deal with him throwing the ball all game long? Because he has a horrible tendency of wanting to come out and run triple option, read option. I don't want to see none of that crap tomorrow. I need to see a basic game plan, a clean ball game on offense for the Falcons per se. And as you mentioned as well, Denzel Ward is one of the solid corners in the league. So that's going to be his first really tough matchup for him this season, is Denzel Ward, because no disrespect to Marcus Lattimore, they didn't really target that matchup a lot during that first week. So this is going to be an intriguing matchup. He's been getting tested, honestly. He had to deal with Jalen Ramsey also earlier in the year. He also had to deal with Lattimore, as I mentioned, week 1. So this is going to be a good matchup, and I feel like he has the skill set to keep up with Drake London. So this might be his first really tough test of the season. Now, as far as on offense, how are you feeling? Is there any guys on your offense that you really feel like they could have a big day that we're possibly not talking about yet?
The one person who was mentioned, David Njoku. So Njoku had a really good game last week against the Steelers. Jacoby really developed a good chemistry with him attacking some of the Steelers linebackers. Njoku was really doing a lot of work in the seam area in the middle of the field. So if we can really get another good game with Njoku, getting involved early. Obviously, you have your, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I know you mentioned Casey Hayward as the second cornerback. So I think that obviously Amari and AJ Terrell will probably be shadowing him for most of the game. But Donovan Peoples-Jones could potentially have a big game as well. On offense for the Falcons, who are you looking to potentially have a big game that maybe Browns fans are not familiar with?
This could be an opportunity. I think possibly this could be a Drake London, or this could be a Kyle Pitts game, to be honest, because if you mentioned, the linebacker core is kind of banged up in Cleveland. This would be an opportunity for Kyle Pitts to eat tomorrow. I'm already thinking ahead, but Kyle Pitts could possibly have a shot to eat tomorrow. I would have said Cordero Patterson with the offensive line being banged up, but at the moment, I don't really know what's going to happen with him tomorrow. I don't really know if he's going to be 100%. Yes, he's our engine, and that's the thing that concerns me going into this matchup, because had we had a fully healthy Cordero Patterson, I possibly could even pick the Falcons to win this game. But at the moment, I don't really know what we're going to get from him. He's been the most productive guy, but I think the rushing attack is going to have to step up at some point in this game. You're going to probably see Tyler Algier step up and be productive as a rookie. So I think it's going to be Kyle Pitts, but I really don't know. Let's see, Smoking Sessions. He said, should I start Kareem Hunt against the Falcons? Even yes. If you any running back that starts for any team this season that will face the Atlanta Falcons, please start them. Because
if we can get a lot of goal line plays, Kareem will be a good start against the Falcons.
Oh yeah, trust me, you're gonna get down the field with this game. Believe me.
Okay.
Let's see. Jermaine Summer said it will be a great matchup. Can't honestly say who will come out on top coming off our first win. Will definitely give us some confidence going into week 4 against the Dog. Yes, it's going to be an interesting matchup. And honestly, the Falcons need to find a way to win at home. We won one home game last year, which is very embarrassing. All our wins were on the road. So it will be a perfect opportunity to get to 500, knowing that you have, if the Falcons can win this game, it'll be a confidence booster for them long term, because to be honest with you guys, we have Tampa, San Francisco, and Cincinnati coming back to back to back, and 2 of those 3 on the road. That is not an easy matchup. And 2 of those 4 teams came close to winning a Super Bowl last year. So if you want to take an opportunity to steal one, this might be your game to do it, because that 3-week stretch right there, I'm going to pray for this team, because I don't really feel good about that 3-week stretch. So you might catch a little, you might catch a little advantage in this game, but I'm not going to really go that far, because again, that Cleveland offense has been outstanding this year. And another thing, if the Falcons cannot move the ball, I don't even know if you know this, Armand, the Browns have the number 1 offense in time of possession. They're one of the fewest in turning the ball over. If that team gets a chance to really get physical, they're going to destroy that front 7 for the Atlanta Falcons. So the Falcons offense love to stall at the 25 or 30. They got to score touchdowns in this game tomorrow. Because if you find yourself kicking field goals down 6 or 7 and Nick Chubb in the 4th quarter, listen, you'll see me on here being a little upset tomorrow, because we already know what's going to happen.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely knew about time of possession. That's really been a focus for this year, to just keep the ball out the hands of the other offenses.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's see. He said it could be a Kyle Pitts Drake London game. Basically, we'll see how our passing offense is. I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to lie. I'm not nervous about our talent. I'm nervous about the guy that's standing back there at quarterback. Because had the Falcons not won last week, you'd have heard me saying start Desmond Ridder this week. Because he's had too many ill-advised turnovers, and that's my concern more than anything for Marcus Mariota tomorrow, because the Falcons have not had one clean game all season long. And even with the Browns being banged up, I'm still nervous because, again, Seattle forced turnovers too. So that the injuries on your side of the ball, bro, that doesn't matter to me at this point, because we turn the ball over every game.
That's interesting, because that concerns me and Browns fans. The fact is, we played Baker Mayfield, we played Joe Flacco, and we played Mr. Trubisky, and they made some good throws against our secondaries. So these are lower level quarterbacks in the NFL, but they were making plays against our defense. So, Marcus Mariota fits that category. And if you underestimate him, he'll make some throws, and he has some talented, weapons out there that can make some big plays. So that's what really concerns us, especially without having a pass rush. Mariota might have a lot of time back there to throw tomorrow, which is very, very concerning. And I think that Browns fans are really worried about what is this pass rush going to look like tomorrow. Because Joe Woods is probably going to blitz a lot due to the fact our DNs are thin, and with blitzing, the middle of the field will be open, which is the area that Kyle Pitts operates, sometimes, whether he's on the boundary or in line. So that's a concern for us as well.
Hey, I understand it. And I'm glad that you brought up as far as the defensive scheme, even with us and DPs, because in my personal opinion, the Browns have one of the best offensive lines in football. And I don't feel that blitzing the way that we attempt to blitz, I'm not even going to say we blitzing. I'm going to say the attempt of blitzing that we sometimes try to do is not going to work for us. To me, we're going to have to play more 4-3 this tomorrow because I don't feel like a 3-4 defense is going to be able to stop that offensive line. I watched Pittsburgh minus TJ Watt get absolutely gashed last week by that group. And I don't think that that's going to work if you're going to possibly win that ball game tomorrow at home. That Browns offensive line can get in a groove and do. And Jacoby Brissett, let me give him a lot of props. He has been absolutely outstanding for the Browns to be a guy that's supposed to be holding it over for the team until Deshaun Watson gets there. And I don't feel like I've seen him in a position where he's that one boneheaded turnover, boneheaded mistake. They've been pretty outside of that 1 minute and 55 seconds that Armand mentioned earlier. They have been really stout as a group all season long. And I feel like the Falcons, the best thing they're going to have to do is try to get some stops of some sorts because I don't feel confident about us getting after the quarterback tomorrow. I just don't because that group is not banged up on offense. I think the Falcons' biggest thing is going to have to be bend but don't break, as you mentioned with Cleveland. Because once again, if that team has time in that pocket, Amari Cooper may have a big day, as Armand mentioned, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I'm really concerned about David Njoku. It's a tricky matchup. Both sides has reasons they can say this is a winnable matchup, but there are both glaring issues on both sides of the teams too. So let me ask you this question. From what you've seen in the first 3 weeks of the Falcons so far, is Drake London and Kyle Pitts the main thing that scares you at this point, or is there anything else that might be a concern for the Browns tomorrow?
Cordarrelle Patterson, if he plays tomorrow, he's going to be a major concern because obviously he's a converted wide receiver to running back, so he has the ability to catch the ball out the backfield. He's also one of the more dangerous return men in the league as well. I think he's still doing kickoffs or punt returns still. Is he? Yeah, he's been doing that for a long time. So he can really change the dynamic of this game just with his ability to catch the ball out the backfield as well. So I'm really worried just about how we're going to contain him, as well as, even Marcus Mariota making key runs on third downs. One of the concerns with the Browns has always been third down defense. We're one of the best teams when it comes to first and second down defense, but we're one of the worst teams on third down defense. And Joe Woods is going to have to make sure that he keeps Drake London and Kyle Pitts in front of him. Grant Delpit has not played that well the first 3 weeks of the season. He had some miscommunications the first 2 weeks. He got it together last week versus the Steelers, but that's going to be something that Arthur Smith is going to try to exploit to see where Grant Delpit is on the field, just so they can maybe take a big shot.
Okay. I definitely understand that. Let me hit this comment real quick. To be honest, we want to see if we can go over the top deep pass we ever had since 2016. To be honest, we haven't had a game changer since what's his name? Taylor Gabriel, the Super Bowl season. We have not had a home run threat.
Former Brown.
Matter of fact, was on the team that year that he got cut. Was it after preseason he got cut that year?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, he was on the team that Super Bowl season, and we honestly have not had a guy to take it over the top. That was one of the reasons why back at on draft night I was kind of angry taking Drake London, even though he is outstanding. I love Drake London now, but I wanted a game changer. I don't feel like we have a over the top guy because you got a Kyle Pitts, a big Kyle Pitts, a big Drake London, but I don't feel like you have a guy that if I send him on the street, he's going to go out there and burn anybody. Even Cleveland have that with Anthony Schwartz. He don't get in the game much, but that's a guy that's somebody you can go out there and, hey, if I want to get a home run threat, I think we're going to see more of him when Deshaun Watson is back. You're going to probably see some more of those home run threats out there in Cleveland. But as far as Atlanta, we have a lot of slow route runners that run that route and catch the ball, may get you 1 or 2 yards. And I don't feel like we're going to see Mariota throw a deep. But also, I'm going to put it like this. I don't think Mariota throws a good deep pass. because I've seen him throw a couple of. I'm just like, bro, what are you doing? And I'm not a fan of Mariota staying in that pocket and launching the ball. I feel a little more comfortable with Desmond Ridder doing that over Marcus Mariota. But again, as Armand mentioned, even for me, for the Browns, I feel like this could be a physical ball game up front where Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt could potentially go crazy. Because here's the thing with the Browns running situation. If Nick Chubb is gashing you on the ground, you got Kareem Hunt who can come out the backfield, catch the ball some. Both of them are good receiving backs. So that run can set up the pass. You could get an Amari Cooper going crazy, as a Donovan Peoples-Jones going crazy, and David Njoku. One thing I don't like about the Falcons, and this is going to be a key to watch tomorrow, is will Dean Pease draw a lot of zone coverage up against Amari Cooper? And if he does, he's going to be destroyed tomorrow. You got to take your chances and see, can you man-to-man him? Can you stick with him throughout the game? Because playing off that receiver is going to be a very bad thing for the Falcons defense. Another thing is you're going to have to be really careful with the blitzing that the Falcons tend to do, because if you're not getting there, Njoku's wide open. If you're not getting there, Cooper's open for 20 yards. So, again, you got to be careful with what you drop on this Cleveland Brown defense and when you draw offense and when you draw it up. Because once again, as I mentioned, they're not gonna make mistakes, and that's just the God of the truth. Hope you make his mistake from that defense, from a defensive perspective. But the Falcons, and they have forced a turnover every game, so that's a good question. That's a good way to look into this game coming up. And there's a interest. Hold on, let me hit this comment. That Amari hasn't been good this year. You're right. And playing a lot of zone may help. Amari's been pretty solid the last 2 games.
I want to say, Amari. I know a lot of people said Amari had a bad first game. I mean, Brissett, obviously just getting comfortable. If you look at kind of like the highlights of that Panthers game, he was giving J.C. Horn the business. It was just, there was a couple underthrown balls by Brissett that just didn't get there. But actually with Amari has had back-to-back 100-yard games for us the past 2 games. He's the first receiver to do that since Josh Gordon in 2013. So that tells you a lot. So I think if, Amari can, take advantage of A.J. Terrell. I know A.J. Terrell is a very, physical corner and can, make sure he can get open, because Amari's going to get open. He's one of the best route runners in the league. That's just point blank. So if Brissett can, find him in stride, I think he'll be okay. There were some throws last week that, Cooper dropped that he could have even made more bigger plays. So
you're right. I agree. I can't sit there and say that he's you get what I'm saying? I can't do that. I cannot sit here and say Amari Cooper has not been productive this year. He's been really, really solid. If you play fantasy football, he's been outstanding for most fantasy football guys. And I actually lost the fantasy game because of that last week.
You're gonna have to force someone else to beat you, even if it is Njoku. But you're gonna have to force Donovan Peoples-Jones, which actually Brissett has good chemistry with Donovan Peoples-Jones. Throwing slants and out routes. So we will see what tomorrow brings.
Yes, sir. I have another one. This is a question. What is it like being a Browns fan?
Oh, Lord. Oh, gosh. So I know the Falcons are known for, giving up the big leads, from a historical standpoint. Being a Browns fan is stressful as hell. I mean, last week, was a decent week, but the first 2 weeks, it was rough. It was very rough, especially when the Panthers got up late in that game. And, we were like, Brissett, what's Brissett going to do? And he did lead us, down the field. And Cade York kicked that field goal. And, Browns fans crowned him way too early. He's still a good kicker for a rookie. But, the next week, our defense let us down against the Jets. We were up 13, 14 points, and they scored that in 2 minutes. So, I mean, you never can leave a game early. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm sure Falcons fans can attest to that you cannot leave a game early or turn off your TV to go party and celebrate. So it's gotten better over the years. Those 0-16 years were rough.
Okay, I got another good question. Can the Browns make the playoffs this year?
I think the key word in this question is can. The answer is yes, they can. Like after this week, let's say that we win tomorrow, we'll be 3-1. So the following week we have the LA Chargers come into town to play them. And I think followed by that is the Patriots. So with those two teams, they both have QBs who are banged up. I don't think that Justin Herbert will be back. Or if he does play in that game, he's not going to feel comfortable because he has a rib injury that's going to be season long. And Mac Jones for the Patriots is going to be out for a couple weeks with ankle injury. So those are the next two games, and then we have our division games with Baltimore and Cincinnati, which are going to be tough games. So it's very important that we do pull this out tomorrow, and albeit that quarterbacks are going to be out the following 2 weeks, is still you can't guarantee just a win. You still have to play the game. But if we can, get help, get Miles back, in the right, place and get Clowney and avoid some injuries, I think by the time, Watson comes back, I think we could be in a good place. Now, do I think we can win the division? It's a slim shot. I think a wild card would probably be our best option, but I'm not going to rule out potentially winning the division based on looking at how we're going to be after week 8 or 9.
Okay, that's a good response. And I was actually looking at your schedule while you were talking. To be honest, for me speaking, unbiased, if the Browns beat the Falcons tomorrow, they got the Chargers at home, which this is a banged up Chargers team coming in there to Cleveland. They can win that game. They got the Patriots at home. If they get that game at Baltimore, they have a stretch that they play the Bills, they got the Bengals, Dolphins, Bills, and Bucks in a 4-week stretch. Outside of that stretch, the back end when Deshaun Watson come back is Texans at Cincy, home against the Ravens, New Orleans and Cleveland, the Commanders in Washington, and at Pittsburgh. That schedule is doable. I think the Browns can and will make the playoffs. That team, especially if they win tomorrow, to be going 3-1 the first 4 weeks. At this point, you're positioning yourself to set up for success long term once Deshaun Watson come back. And I feel like the Browns, they get a win tomorrow. You go 3-1 in the first 4 weeks, you already step ahead of the game because no matter what happens down the stretch when Deshaun Watson comes back, you have a very favorable schedule down the stretch. So I'm like you. I don't think the division is over. I don't think the division is a wrap by any means because you get the game against the Ravens and we have a whole other situation here where the Browns now have a dub on the Ravens. They have a dub on Pittsburgh. Their only losses came out of the division. So I can't just sit here and say that you guys don't have a shot to win the division.
And we should have won that game. We should have won that game. I would say ask me after the Bengals game going into our bye week in week 9. So we'll have played all our division opponents once and see how we'll do.
Yes, sir. Let's see this comment. Mr. Lancaster said, he's a Patriots fan, so y'all might drag us. No Mac and Brian Hoyer is not an upgrade. He knows
Brian Hoyer used to play on the Browns too. He's from Cleveland. He's yeah. So they used to call him Hoyer the Destroyer, but we're gonna destroy him if he playing the game. Especially if Miles coming back. We gonna hurt him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Do you have any Falcon questions for me?
Yes. So outside of London, Pitts and Patterson, who are some other offensive weapons on the Falcons that, could, potentially have a good game?
Potentially, there's 2 receivers that have a good chance of having a game. Zacchaeus he's not going to put up 100 yards or anything like that, but Zacchaeus has been pretty productive at wide receiver. He makes the necessary receptions, if that makes sense. He'll make the catch that needs to be made on a 3rd down or a big 20-yard reception to get him in position. And Cordero Hodges had a couple of big catches in the game too. I don't think that I think those 3 are the go-to and nobody else is going to be able to do much more outside of those three. But if there's anyone else, I would say probably Zacchaeus and potentially Kadero Harts, because again, I know there's some fans kind of want to see what Tyler Algier looks like, but they don't give him the ball enough. So I don't really know who can step up to the plate. And this Lancaster just asked another good question. Can Mariota carry y'all to a division title? I'm going to say no. I'm going to go, and I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Mariota has done enough for us to beat. We should be 3-0 if I'm going to be brutally honest. But we are making mistakes at the most key times, and we're very fortunate that we got out of Seattle to win last week. So I can't sit here and say that he's going to carry us to a division title when you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers down there that you still have to deal with at some point. Now, if they possibly was to pull the upset tomorrow and somehow go into Tampa and steal that game in Tampa, then we may have another conversation at that point. But at the moment, I can't see it. But you got any more questions you want to cut?
Yeah. So just even with that question, I think the expectations, to win a division doesn't seem what the Falcons want to do, obviously. So from a standpoint, what are your expectations for the Falcons this year?
Oh man. Katie said that Mariota can barely carry the ball without fumbling. He can. Oh my goodness, I'm sick of him. If you've seen me talk about him every week, I'm going off on Marcus Mariota on the stream. I've done it every single week. But as far as your question, coming into the season, I had the Falcons winning 6 to 7 games because I feel like there's not enough talent. And then the schedule doesn't, even though I figured that they were going to be competitive, now they have really surprised me with how competitive they've been in the first 3 weeks. But I feel like the schedule is going to be our undoing because we still got, as I mentioned, after this Browns game, you got the Bucks, the Niners, and the Bengals in 3 consecutive games. You got to play the Ravens in December. You play the Cardinals and the Bucks to end the season. So you still got a lot of good teams on the schedule that we haven't even touched yet. So I don't feel that the Falcons are winning more than 7 games. And if you win 6 or 7 games, to me, that's an accomplishment with how much of a turnover it's been, and the simple fact that you're aware of this, but for your casual fan that doesn't really watch the Falcons a lot, the Falcons don't have a lot of money. We are still paying Julio's contract from 2020. We're paying Matt Ryan's. We're taking the Matt Ryan cap hit this year. They'll have a lot of money next year, but it's kind of a group where you had to see what you could get out this group with the limited amount of time that we've had this team together. And we have a lot of one-year deals on the team too.
Okay. So you're hoping for Bryce Young or see CJ Stroud next year?
That's a good question. I think the Falcons need to find out what they have in Desmond Ridder first before we consider getting a quarterback, because what I don't want us to do is potentially have something with Desmond Ridder and we flat out go get a Bryce Young or a CJ Stroud or even a Will Levis in the draft and go and waste a quarterback where we could have got a chance to see what he's gonna do for us. So me personally, I want the Falcons to get a defensive playmaker. That's what I really want us to go after, because as you mentioned on the stream before we came on, the Falcons have not had a pass rusher since John Abraham. That was 10 years ago. So to me, I need a game changer on defense. Regardless, I would love a Will Anderson in a Falcon uniform. So to me, I want us to see what we got at quarterback before I jump the gun and say quarterback right now.
Okay. And defensively, I know Grady Jarrett's still, one of the better defensive tackles in the league. Outside of him and AJ Terrell, who are some defensive players that could, maybe impact the game tomorrow?
That's a great question. This is also going to depend on how Dean Pease run his scheme. To be honest, the Falcons have not seen enough of Arnold Ebiketie, the rookie out of Penn State. He's had a sack. He had a sack against New Orleans. He had after Matthew Stafford in week 2. Lorenzo Carter, when he gets an opportunity to get in the backfield, he's making an impact as well. So to me, I want to really see what those edge rushers can do for the Falcons coming into the week, because I don't feel like the Falcons have used them right coming in, because we've seen situations where, and you'll get a chance to see tomorrow, where the Falcons have Grady Jarrett, they'll have Anthony Rush as another defensive tackle, and like a Taquan Graham or a Adonijay, who's the second-year guy to Notre Dame. They'll have three guys that two of them are not edge rushers, and then of course Grady Jarrett. They have them out of position, but I feel like the Falcons are going to have to use more of Lorenzo Carter. You got to see what Evan Katie can bring to you. Guys like a Rashawn Evans is another guy who I'm going to be intrigued. He's been actually productive for the Falcons this year, outside of the normal guys like a Grady Jarrett. Rashawn Evans has actually had a pretty good year, so it's going to be intriguing to see, can that linebacker crew step up against Nick Chubb, and definitely because that defensive line step up. I don't know what they're going to do tomorrow. I don't feel good about them, though. I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, if you know the one weak link on the offensive line is Jedrick Wills. So he's played pretty good in pass protection, but against the run, he has some struggle. He has some highlights that have been circulating that haven't been too good. But he you know, if you want to attack the line, definitely go after Wills.
Okay. All right, we're gonna get ready to get out. We're gonna get ready to wrap it up. But my question is gonna be to you: what will be your score prediction for tomorrow?
Great question. So I want to say 38-35 Browns. I think it's going to come down to special teams. Whichever kicker does not miss a field goal is probably going to win the game tomorrow.
Okay. I have 35-24 Browns. I feel like it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I also feel that the Falcons' offense is going to have one or two dumb possessions. We're going to have to settle for a field goal, and that could be their undoing tomorrow. So I think the Falcons will be competitive tomorrow. I just don't know, can they? My biggest question for the Falcons is, can you make the plays when it matters the most? Because that's been the issue for the team all season long. I think they're going to keep this game close. It's going to be another hard-fought ball game from both sides, but I have the Browns pulling it out by 10 because, again, that offense is just outstanding from top to bottom, and that's just me being honest. I would love to see the Falcons pull the upset, but I'm just going to be honest. I think the Browns are going to have a good day tomorrow, and if we don't be able to match them toe-to-toe, then could be a close, not in the 10-point loss. We hit these comments and see Tevin said Falcons for the upset. I would love it, but I don't know. I'm not putting no expectations on this ball game. I'll be honest with you guys.
I think Nick Chubb is going to rush for 170 yards tomorrow. I think he's going to have a big day. I think he's going to have a big run.
I got him for 200. I just think that's this kind of game that he's going to have.
That's rich. Okay.
I don't see
great for me if that happens.
I just don't see the Falcons' defensive line being able to stop Nick Chubb. They are, like I said, they are okay, but to me, that's Nick Chubb. That's a great offensive line we're going up against. And if the Falcons are going to win this game, they got to make Jacoby Brissett throw the ball on 3rd and long. You cannot let Nick Chubb, because another thing that I'll have to throw out about this game that concerns me is the Falcons give up 4.9 yards to carry. And if you're giving Nick Chubb 5 yards to carry, it's going to be a long day. Let's just be honest. It's going to be a long day if Nick Chubb's getting 5 yards to carry. But before we head out of here, do you have anything else you have left to say?
Nah, just thank you for having me. It's always great to talk football with you. It's always good to learn, keep up with what the Falcons have going on. I know they're in a period of transition. So I just hope, tomorrow we may not be friends for about 3 hours, but otherwise, I definitely wish you all well this season.
Yes, sir. The same here, because honestly, for me, it's going to be hard, to be honest, because, this is my first time seeing Nick Chubb since leaving UGA. So it's going to be one of those tricky situations for me, because I actually like how the Browns is set up as a squad. I would love to see us win tomorrow, but that Browns squad is set up well. So it's going to be a good match. Again, the Falcons have the pleasure of having some really good teams coming in here this season. We're going to have the 49ers in here in 2 weeks. So, again, this is going to be a fun matchup. And I'm glad you came on here and you had some very, very insightful knowledge on the Cleveland Browns. And everyone that's tuned in, I really hope you enjoyed it. And we're going to have Armand back on here. Believe that. But until next time, this has been a special edition of All In with Nate and with my boy Armand. Y'all have a good Saturday and go Dogs.
Buckeye Nation.